Okay, hi everyone, and this is Booker speaking. And now I'm going to introduce the fantasy story between the wars from 1920 to 1940. Okay, so before we get started, I want to mention that um, due to the devastation of the World War One, a lot of fantasy story writers try to focus um, on fantasy stories instead of reality, since reality is not very delightful. Okay, so during that time, um, um, there are a lot of fantasy stories came from British. Okay, so today I'm going to introduce four fantasy stories from British, and maybe with some short clips of video to let you get to know more about the fantasy stories. Okay, the first stories I want to mention is Hugh Lofting's The Story of Dr. Dolittle. Okay, so this story is um, mainly talking about physician who can talk with animals, and the stories are highly imaginative, and um, it includes some important and admirable ideas from pacifism and love for animals and general tolerance. And uh, recently, this fantasy story has uh, made into the movie, and now I'm going to show you a short video clip to let you get to know more.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself,
Are you Dr. Doolittle?
We've no choice but to embark on this perilous journey.
Everyone pack your bags!
You can talk to animals.
I hear babies cry, watch them grow, then learn much more than
It's
I
okay to be scared.
know. And I think to myself,
Hello, Patty. Hello, lunch.
Okay, so this is the story of Dr. Dolittle. Okay, next I'm going to introduce A. Mile and his most popular work, which is Winnie the Pooh. Okay, for me, I think Winnie the Pooh is the most famous fantasy stories in my generation, and be- because when I was little, I always listened to the story before going to bed, and the story is talking about a bear named Pooh, and and like and a story and funny story and his friends around him. Okay, so okay, and although the work seems intended to the very young, and but much of the humor in this book and is sequel, which is on the right side, the house at Pooh Corner speaks as readily to adults as to children. So this is the reason why these stories are very popular. Okay, so this is Winnie the Pooh. And next, I'm going to talk about P.L. Trevor's Mary Poppins. And Mary Poppins is a very interesting story that talks about an secretary nanny who has magical power and very positive mind, and she tried to influence um, people around her and to let them um, solve their uh, problems, to help them solve their problems. Okay, and so now I'm going to show you a short clip about Mary Poppins. Okay, so this is the 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 movie called Mary Poppins Return.
I honestly can't
So
remember why we
it is
kept
not
most of this stuff to
exactly
begin
about
with.
the
Don't you
story
remember that
inside,
kite? We used to
but
love flying that with
you
Mother and
can get to
Father.
know more about Mary
Those days are
Poppins,
long
the
behind me.
character.
As I live and breathe.
I was flying the kite when it got caught on a nanny.
Mary,
Poppins, you came back.
you seem hardly to have aged at all.
Really? One never discusses a woman's age, Michael. Would have hoped I taught you better. What brings you here after all this time? Same thing that brought me the first time. I've come to look after the bank's children. Oh, yes, you too.
We're about to lose our home. Everything's fallen to pieces since your mother.
I miss Mother.
Nothing's gone forever, only out of place.
It's a good thing you come along when you did, Mary Poppins.
How'd you do that?
Do what?
So you've been off filling the children's heads with stuff and nonsense.
You've forgotten what it's like to be a child.
Okay, so this is Mary Poppins, and okay, so this kind of nature and movie style was dramatically altered in the 1964 Disney movie, which is The Wizard of Oz. Okay, and some consider an improvement over the book. And so next, I'm going to talk about The Hobbit, written by J.R.R. Tolkien, and this is also a very famous uh, fantasy stories that has been translated into various languages and also made into film and still make a lot of money recently. And The Hobby is um, the pre-series of The Lord of the Rings, and The Hobby is quite suitable for children with its lovable and self-deprecating hero, and the fantasy featuring dramatic battles and fanciful creatures, very real dangers, and just a little touch of humor. So all of these factors makes the fantasy story into a very, very great work. Okay, so although the okay, because the work is very famous, so I'll skip the video. And next, I'm going to talk about the three major writers during this area. And the first two of them are Americans, British, which is Arthur Ransom and Enid Enid Blyton, and the last one will be American, which is Laura Ingalls. And for Arthur Ransom, his famous work is Swallow's in Amazons. And this work is mainly talking about the adventures of the Walker children and their friends on the summer holidays, engage in variety of outdoor activities. And now let's watch some films, a short films talking about this fantasy. Sorry.
All present and accounted for? We're here!
I'm so glad they can come up here and do all the things I take for granted. I don't want them frightened of the world.
There's our light.
We could count.
Keep under the stars.
Please say yes.
I promise I'll look after everybody.
She's a beauty, isn't she?
Here's to Swallow and all who sailing her.
I hereby name this water island and claim it for our own. We're on the island.
This is the place. There's something down there.
What's that?
A houseboat.
If you want to my boat again, I won't be quite so understanding.
Are you almost this rude?
That was me being polite.
The Amazons? What does this mean?
The Jolly Roger. That's their sign.
Who are you?
I'm Nancy Blackett, part owner of the Amazon. Give us back our island.
Not frightened of you.
All the pirates who sent you.
She means Uncle Jim.
Shut up, you donkey!
This is our chance. Follow him.
Who knows what's going on in that boat?
Something fishy, and I don't mean with nets.
Where are you going?
On a top secret mission.
Okay, so this is the film about Swollen and Amazons. And now I'm going to talk about the next famous writer, who is Enid Blyton. And Enid Blyton is a worldwide writers, and she wrote over 600 books. And her books was translated into several languages. And the one of most best known works was the Magic Farewell Tree. And but there are some controversy about her work, about the simplicity and stereotyped vocabulary and conventional attitude. And on the other hand, it was precisely her familiatic writing that made her so popular. Okay? And next, I'm going to talk about Laura Ingalls. And Laura Ingalls is American writer between the words, and her work later housed in the Big Woods um, is based on her children and young adult experience on the American frontier, and the combination of domestic story with a frontier adventure, perfectly formula for one of the most successful publishing venture of the area. Okay, so this is my presentation. Thanks for your listening. Bye bye.